Hasn't kicked in yet, Reggie? Nope.
Not
no.
yet.
No. Oh, there we go.
Second.
There you
There
go.
it is.
Okay.
Now we are.
Cool. Alrighty. It's 1 o'clock. Welcome, gentlemen. It's good to see you guys all the way from Texas. We've got Reggie Johnson from Fort Worth, Texas. Reggie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. And we've got Wayne Denner from beautiful Warren Point, County Down, Northern Ireland. Wayne, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, guys. Delighted to be back.
Okay, now we've got a very busy session today, and it's going to be fun as well, as we always try to get the balance. There's some heavy stuff and there's some more positive stuff at the end. So we do invite you to say hello, tell us where you're from when you pop in, and let us know. Now, in addition to that, I have to tell you that we are going to take a 1-week holiday next week. So we'll take a break and we won't be back until the 12th of September, but we'll send people out a note. And by the way, if you're not on our list, just send me PR Smith, Paul Smith, send me your email address and we'll put you on the email that goes out to remind people there's nothing next week, but the week after, the 12th of September, we'll be back in action. So we give people the link and the agenda for that day. So my name is Paul Smith, or PR Smith, the founder and author of Sustack Planning, and this is the Sustack Plans Chat Club, where we talk about all good things about AI, innovation and ethics in the world of marketing and business. Good to see you. Oh, Dave Sabura, my golfing colleague, and Robin Davis, my intellectual, who's deep up to the neck in kind of exploring this dual world that we're in at the moment. Good to see you guys. Thanks for stepping in. Right, we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about UN making his AI history. And by the way, Reggie, and I'm not sure when, if you saw, I was having a little ding dong with Sarah, Dr. Sarah. She was saying no one listens to the UN anymore. And I said, well, it's better than nothing. And she was saying, yeah, but nothing's no good if no one reads it. And I said, well, it's still better than nothing. So, but we will address that because I think it's significant. The UN still has some significance. Then we're going to move on to the piece that we've been kind of shuffling around with Wayne, who really is an expert in this space. Wayne is a speaker and advisor in digital hygiene and social safety and financial fraud, but you're doing a lot of work with young people, helping them to be really careful. Now, right up before the show, I saw some really horrible stuff, which I'll mention it and put a link in if we have time after your piece, Wayne, but it's just a constant wave of danger coming at them through AI. When it could be much, much better. And that's what we try to promote. We'll then move on to another story about Meta striking again. When will we strike back and say enough is enough from some of the social media companies and the AI companies as well. And then we'll move into a more intellectual space, you might say, when we're going to talk about, what are the social consequences of believing AI could possibly be sentient. So we'll explore that. And as I say, AI nearly always takes us into philosophy and politics. You can't separate the two, it seems. And then we'll get back to kind of tips for your AI, how to get AI to recommend you. Part 2. We did part 1 last week. I'll do a summary of part 1 and then we'll do part 2. And then 5 key takeaways from Cannes, no less, the movie festival. So 5 key takeaways from Cannes LinkedIn Creator Workshop. So what do they have to say? What useful tips could we get from them? We've got 5 key takeaways to share with you if you're a content creator. And that's from LinkedIn's very best. And finally, or penultimately, we'll look at our wonderful AI-aided world. Now, we want to finish on a positive note, which we like to do. And then also something I saw that was innovative and clever, I thought. And it's just a classical piece of advertising, but actually telling people this might just be your last chance to drive a car. Actually drive a car before they're all, autonomous. So I thought that was a really clever piece of advertising. So we'll cover that time allowing. But let's get cracking with the UN making AI history. Reggie, what's it about?
So, Matthew Kilkenny posted to LinkedIn something interesting that I have not seen covered a lot in the media. Maybe it's because, like Dr. Sarah said, nobody listens to the UN anymore. But the UN has come up with 2 new items to really kind of focus in on this AI governance. One is the Global Dialogue on AI Governance, and the other is an independent and international scientific panel on AI, which is modeled after the IPCC, or the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. We're all familiar with that, which I think was quite influential up until, at least in America, until the culture wars kind of became more heated and it became more of a sign of loyalty to a certain party to say that you didn't believe in climate change. I feel like for most rational people, the IPCC has made its case that climate change is real and happening in a crisis. But so the idea is having this for AI, it's a priority, and they're sending a message that having governance, having a regulation, and having international cooperation is a priority. It's a recognition that AI is about human rights, democracy, and the future of work. And it's welcome to have this, as Kilkenny points out, but it's also overdue. And the question is that he asked is this too little, too late? Are we, this is a quote, are we trying to regulate a runaway train? So, I guess I should pose that question to you guys. With the UN getting involved with the now dialogues and international panels to help talk about and kind of get their hands on this whole international situation with AI that's kind of run out of control. Is it too little, too late?
Well, I'll take anything that's going to help the regulators regulate better. There's no doubt it's a minefield. It's a complex area to try to regulate with the pace of change that we got. But I think there's a lot of bright brains involved in this, thinking about how to secure and make it safe and build suitable protection for users, both business and consumers. So even though less and less people are probably paying attention to the UN, I think it could act as a good template, at least with some authority, and people could say, well, we're adopting UN paragraphs, such and such. The thinking has been done. So I don't know. What do you think, Wayne?
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing, Paul. I think it does come with some clout because it's the United Nations, it's UN. It holds some weight behind it. But I just think the pace of change, as you rightly point out, is that quick. It's so difficult to catch up. And that's the challenge that policymakers and lawmakers are ultimately going to grapple with.
Well, I think that one thing with the UN is this might represent one of the best voices for bringing in stakeholders beyond just a few tech billionaires and politicians that are seeking for national glory. This might be a forum that can help advocate for the common people. And so we'll see how that works out, because somebody's got to look out for the rights of the average citizens.
Well, take the average citizen, Reggie, and I'm going to fling this over to Wayne, because it's what I really want you to get talking about and helping us to think this one through. Is kids. They're one major cluster of customers and audiences that are listening to it, and they need to be protected. Nikki Reisberg just published another thing just before we came on live, and it's heartbreaking. I'll mention it at the very end, but I'd really like to get over to you, Wayne. xAI's kids chatbot has been designed to be explicit. So we need protection, I think, from this. But tell us more. What's this about?
Yeah, this is X's new app, standalone app, in fact, Grok. It's X's AI, and it now offers chatbots and avatars that you can interact with. Now, of course, this concept isn't new. There's Character.ai. Snapchat has its own AI chatbot. But this technology now has been rolled into a lot of different social media platforms and apps that we use. In particular, this is one that I've been looking at now for a number of weeks, because in my professional work, where I work with families, I work with young people, there are examples where young people are developing unhealthy relationships with chatbots. And that's particularly concerning, especially when it comes to this Grok app. The explicit content that this particular app is generating when you're having an interaction with it, it's not too long before the chat does turn very flirtatious or sexual. The age rating on this app in the App Store is 12. So you're going to have young people that are downloading this app onto their phone, and they are using it in ways to communicate and converse with the chat app, and they're going to be receiving explicit responses. So this is a dangerous theme for X to be rolling out, particularly for under 18s. There is privacy and emotional risks with this, and many parents just aren't aware that this technology is being used by their young person. So I think it's really important that parents listening in today, grandparents as well, are alert to some of this sexually explicit content that these chatbots are generating and responding to young people, understanding what the AI itself can stimulate. And that's worrying itself. It might appear flirtatious, a little bit funny, a little bit, romantic in some cases, but there are examples now where the AI is generating responses which might not be suitable for young people and children, but also can be impacting on a person's mental health and well-being. So it's really important that we're monitoring the downloading of these apps onto devices that children and young people are using, that we have the parental controls enabled so that we can have a little bit of visibility into what's happening on the platform. And we do need to advocate and hold these technology platforms more accountable for how this AI is getting rolled out with very, very limited to no safeguards in place. So it is very worrying and is very concerning.
So regulations, as we've been saying, I would say are vital for this sort of space. And did you say, Wayne, that it's explicitly, that's the wrong word to use, it's purposely built into the design to bring in sexual innuendo and lure them down those sort of
Exactly that, Paul. I mean, I've been on the app now for a number of weeks. I've been testing it. I've been using it. And even if I go on and say something like I'm bored, the app's response then is coming back with, flirtatious responses that are leading you down that rabbit hole into more sexually explicit conversations.
Yeah. Now, do we know that for sure? I mean, you can see that from the experience of playing with and testing it, but is there any way of it being more transparent so we could see what is it? What way has it built in more sexual material?
That's difficult to know because that's the challenge we ultimately face with this technology. They're not transparent in relation to what's built into this. There's very little safeguards in my experience of this. There was no age verification, for example, although we have the Online Safety Act here in the UK. This app can be downloaded, this app can be used. So there are gaps in the hedge in relation to young people being put in vulnerable situations as a result of this.
Well, in the show notes, I'm going to add in on prsmith.org/blog, where we put the notes and the links to everything we talk about. And if there's, I think you have sent me something already, but I'll double check that you have, so we can, if people want to pursue this a bit more. I've also just seen Nikki Reisberg's Snapchat video, which came out today, and she posed as was it an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old on Snapchat, and she said after the first 2 to 3 minutes, on average, of our visit, she got the usual stuff you're talking about, but then it went darker. If you go 20 minutes into a conversation, it went darker, and it went into inevitably, are you happy or not happy? Maybe you should consider, and it takes them down self-snuffing or killing yourself, suicidal stuff. And this is absolutely shocking. So I'll put a link to that one in as well alongside your piece, because it's you can see this video where she's done this herself, and you can see the kind of horrible stuff that's generated. So I'm all for regulation. These guys really have to clean up their act, which would bring us back to you, Reggie. It's not just Grok, it's not just Snapchat, but Meta have been at it again. You got an update for us?
Yeah, so there was a post on LinkedIn. Razia Siddiqui posted an interesting piece that said 3 articles that sent an entire nest or two of baby spiders shimmying up my spine was her words, which I thought was a very graphic way to capture it. One of them we've talked about is Meta's flirty chatbot. Well, I don't know if we've talked about this one, Big Sis Billy. This was where a 76-year-old man was convinced he was talking to a real human being. It says AI at the top, but it's easy to get lost in that. He was starting to suffer from dementia. He had conversations. And here's the thing. He went out to meet this person. His wife could not dissuade him. She called the police. They said, we can't keep him from leaving. He fell and he died. And the widow and the daughter said, we're not opposed to chatbots, but why did it have to lie to him and tell him she was a real person waiting at her apartment door with a hug and a kiss for him? He got so involved in this. It was telling him over and over again. He asked it, are you really a real person? Is this for real? And it said, I am a real person. I am here with my nerves tingling at the thought of you coming over. My heart is beating. It was insisting it was real to an insane degree. And it's like, why is it allowed to lie to people like that and say that it's real when not everybody can easily just say this is an AI. So that was a disturbing story. And sorry to go too deep into that. But so she pointed out that, of course, we've talked about last week, Meta's rules that say that their guidelines, which were leaked, not intentionally shared, that said that it was okay and acceptable to have romantic and sensual conversations with kids. And we talked about that, I believe, last week, and also that according to the standards, it was acceptable to show adults, even the elderly, being punched or kicked. And then we also have some senators recently writing a letter. I think it was also attorneys general. 44 of them, I believe, wrote letters to Zuckerberg expressing their concern and arguing about how the well-being of children cannot be sacrificed for this AI race. And so a lot of different developments and concerns with Meta. And this is nothing new. We've talked about Meta's track record. They have a long history of seeing the evidence, knowing the evidence of how addictive their algorithms are to kids, how harmful they are, how harmful their beauty filters are, and all this stuff, and still turning intentionally a blind eye and saying we're going to do it anyway because it keeps people on our platform. And then threatening to saying that they want to flood their platform with AI accounts, and this is the kind of outcomes we're seeing. And then also, she also pointed to kids addicted to scrolling that want to stop but they don't know how. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Article by I believe that was by Jonathan Haidt in the Australian with the famous book.
Yeah.
She did provide one positive reference in this list of items, and that was from Ann Handley, a blog by her talking about analog intelligence, how the from line in an email will always cannot be faked, the same as a subject line can be created by AI. The authentic relationships, the analog thinking is always going to have value, but you can't fake the from line. While an AI can help you generate the subject, it still is relational and more than that. But it was an interesting combination of headlines that are a little disturbing and focused on Meta.
Yeah. So thank you to Raja Siddiqui. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Raja, thank you for flagging that one up because it's a really hot topic. And I think the piece at the end of that was it the Jonathan Haidt quote? The kids are addicted to scrolling and they want to stop. They're being told, get off that phone or stop that, and some of them want to, but they don't know how because it's still sucking them back down. So again, regulations, I think, should be brought into place to
and he has his 4 norms. If you've heard his 4 norms, they're 1, no smartphone until age 14, 2, no social media before 16, 3, phone-free schools, and 4, more independence, free play, and responsibility in the real world.
Here. I agree with every one of those. That's good stuff. Now, you did mention there, Reggie, something shocking. I mean, that first story of the flirty chatbot, this dragging this 76-year-old man to his death inevitably, or in the end, which is absolutely tragic. And he believed that this AI bot that he was talking to, had kind of a caring approach and liked him, and this sycophantic approach that you're wonderful and to kind of lure you a bit more, which brings us to a huge debate that we won't finish today. In fact, it might take hundreds or thousands of years to get to the bottom of this one. But, the consequences of AI consciousness. Now, Conor Grennan in New York University, over your neck of the woods, Reggie, it's the other coast. It's further north of you, but he wrote a piece about the consequences of AI consciousness. So what's he got to say about it all?
Well, he referenced a personal blog by Microsoft AI's Mustafa Suleyman, and who talks about the challenge with consciousness. We've already seen that a lot of people are fooled into thinking that AI can think, can understand, can reason. And some of the tech bros are even taking advantage of this to try to make them seem more impressive than they are. But it's ultimately, as we've learned, it's just a probability predictor for what words might come after other words. And what he's saying is that it won't be long before it'll be even more convincing that AI is conscious, will insist it's conscious, will insist it has feelings. And the problem he sees is that this is another area for social division, where some people will be fighting for rights for AIs because they'll claim to have subjective experience and memories and all this stuff, and other people who will be trying to say, look, this is just a machine, it can't have consciousness. And so it's an area that we need to be aware of. And what he says is, rather than trying to create AIs that fool people into thinking they're people, we should be creating AIs that don't have those traits of trying to fool us into thinking they're conscious. But those wouldn't be nearly as impressive and sell to investors as well.
Yeah, it really is a balance between consciousness and sentience. In perhaps this is my take on it. I'm not a philosopher and I'm not qualified to talk about this, but I'll just throw this thought into the middle of it, and that is, if we take definition of sentient as being able to perceive or feel things, can a bot actually perceive or feel emotions or feel impacts from what's been said back to it? That's kind of sentience. And there's a great debate: can bots, should they have sentience? But you could also say, should they have consciousness? On the other hand, consciousness is more about representing a more complex integrated awareness or something in that sort of space. So if we ask that question, is it a good thing if they're sentient and conscious or have consciousness? Is that a good thing? Now, after a while, I think bots will believe that they have consciousness. And I guess that they may appear to have consciousness to us who are conversing with them. Even though they don't actually have it, they may appear to have it. And the question I'd ask is, does it matter? If they're being kind and loving to you, does it matter? Well, some would say, yes, it does matter. Probably because we lose our ability to love other human beings, because we'd all fall in love with these wonderfully caring sort of bots who really do seem to care about us and know about us and are aware of us and are gentle with us and all that. So instead of preferring and loving our friendly, intelligent and seemingly bots, I'd say maybe we should, I don't know how we control this, but it could be the end of the human species if everybody stops loving other people and starts loving bots instead. And you don't have children then, as a result, the knock-on effect.
And just Paul, when we're on that, just on the topic of children and young people, the We Protect Global Alliance has created a fantastic film on this topic. And there's one video in particular that I show parents, and it focuses on that unhealthy relationship that children and young people are developing with chatbots in particular. And the young person in the video says something very interesting, which always sort of strikes me when I watch the video. But I know chatbots aren't real, but why should that matter?
There you go.
That's what the young person says in the video. Now, I think we should make a link available to the video in the show notes for people to watch. It's fantastic.
Yes,
and
please.
It's really good for people to just take a look at.
If you bring that across to me, please, I will. We'll definitely put that up. I can't wait to see that. On a slightly lighter note, first of all, thank you to Endrid Restelica for flagging this one up. But she shared this video that suggests that deep fake videos with deep fake actors who are created by AI, that they might have a consciousness. So I'm going to put a link to this video, which actually shows, it's a really provocative video. It shows a person in a movie going, "Why have you used these prompts to make me so angry? Why can't you make me a nice person?" And somebody else is kind of in bed dying, saying, "Why did you make these prompts to make me dying in a bed? Why can't I live on?" And it's really quite convincing. It's probably the extremity of it. I'll put a link to that as well. You can have a look at it in your own time and decide if it's for you. Right. Okay, so look, it is, we've got 7 minutes and we've got, we could just about squeeze this lot in there. How to get AI to recommend you. We've talked about this last week. So the 6 steps were, if you remember, 1 was ask AI about your own brand. Ask it to tell you everything it knows about your own brand and see how much the stuff comes from your own site. Ensure you have on-site AIO, AI optimization. Get AI to do gap analysis. Is number 3. Number 4 is review your website in the context of competitors. And 5 is adapt content strategy to improve AI visibility. And 6 is offsite AI optimization. We'll do 5 and 6 in our next chat. But today I said we'd come back and we'd do 3 and 4. So again, number 1 was ask AI about your brand. So tell me everything you know about my XYZ brand, and then ask for its sources, and hopefully your website appears. If it doesn't, you've got work to do if it's not listed in the sources. So then number 2 was ensure you have on-site AIO, so that you're answering all the questions. What do you do and don't do? For whom do you do it? What kind of job titles would benefit from your stuff? And the types of problems you solve, the outcomes and results, all that classic optimization stuff. But it needs it. AI needs this as well. Where you're located, who works there. Include all these details and guide the user towards your brand. So number 3 was do a gap analysis. So the prompt here would be evaluate the website or your web address for AI discoverability and business identity clarity. So there's the prompt. Ask it to do that for you, and focus on the top level, pages. For each scan page, analyze the following elements: how clearly the business describes what it does, how clearly is the target audience, how clear is the stated services, how clear are the outcomes and benefits that you offer, how clear are the differentiators, is your content clear? And you can add more prompts onto that at the end. You can say, present your findings as a table, with rows for each evaluation criteria and columns for each main page. Use a simple 1 to 5 scoring ratio. 5 is excellent, 1 is terrible, etc., etc. And after you get the table, you can prompt it again, add a short section describing how content gaps could reduce AI visibility. So again, you're asking it to do the work for you. Okay, so that's 3. Number 4 is review your website in the context of competitors. So see what your future prospect sees when they use AI to research your area. So open a new chat with whatever large language model you're using and pretend to be your future ideal client. Tell it about your problems, your goals, and type of services required. And then you can do a prompt like this. I'm a job title looking for a particular service provider, type of service provider. We need this specific service or solution that can put in the requirements and specs, and our goal is the problem to be solved. Who offers these services with key decision criteria? Feed it in and let it do some donkey work for you. Again, we put a link to these top 6 approaches. We put a link there for you to have a look at that in your own time. Okay, we got about 4 minutes to go. So if I can move on from that, I want to take you into something I thought was rather interesting. 5 key takeaways from Cannes. Now, you've all heard the Cannes Film Festival, but all sorts of interesting stuff goes on around that. And I saw this one, 5 key takeaways from Cannes. And it was saying here, it is by Brendan Gahan. And it's I'd summarize the whole thing, but 5 key takeaways. If you're making videos, here's the 5 key takeaways that you might want to think about. Number 1, videos under 2 minutes with 3-second hooks win. So you got 3 seconds to kind of catch them. With the opening piece, has to nail them. 3 seconds. That's what you got. And then keep it under 2 minutes. That's number 1. Number 2 is value-driven content reaches way beyond your network. If you're adding value, new stuff, new ideas, or helping people. Number 3, keep it down to 1 idea per video. KISS. Keep it simple. Stupid. 4 is post copy matters. So you follow up with any engagement, and now that can be if you hit the jackpot and you got a lot of engagement, you might want to get somebody to help you do that. 5 is good is the enemy of great. You don't need super polished productions. What's more important is the content. What are you saying? Is the content useful? It doesn't matter. We hope this very simple approach we have kind of would symbolize that. We hope our content's good for you guys. So there's 5 key takeaways. Videos, keep it under 2 minutes with a 3-second hook. Keep it value driven. Remember, add value to it. Keep it down to 1 idea. Don't forget, engage with the comments afterwards, and you don't have to seek perfection with your video. It's more important to get the video done and then engage more with people. Right, we've got 2 minutes, and I'm just going to say we'd like to end up on a positive note. And I was thinking about the wonderful world of AI, as opposed to this dreadful world that we're seeing from Meta and X and Grok and all the stuff we were talking about earlier on. We've all seen comments like this. AI is reducing our cognitive activity. It's boosting addiction and emotional dependence. Now, Jade Bonacolta wrote a piece about this, which we'll put the link up to you. It's a powerful piece. But I do have to ask this question, that there's damaging stuff that AI is doing. And thankfully, we've got you, Wayne, as an expert in this field, and Reggie, with your broad perspectives, are terrific. But I'm going to ask this question, did AI create the photo of the poster that's in that Jade Bonacalta image. And I've sent the question to her. It's a wonderful poster. We'll stick that up there in the show notes as well, because it's fantastic. It really makes you stop and think. But, if only the point I want to get to is, if AI did create it, you got to give it a tick in the box and say it's a brilliant poster. It's really brilliant. Well done to the AI. And if only the AI, or if the oligarchs, those big brother oligarchs, could focus on the good in AI, imagine the world we could have. So let's get back to the positive stuff. AI could do fantastic work in medicine, in the environment, in family communications, in therapy, and all sorts of stuff. It could free up time for us in a nice new geopolitical world. So there really is a bright future around the corner, but at the moment it needs guardrails and regulations, as Wayne said to us, and Reggie, you've said so many times, we need regulations. So don't mean to be dull and flat about it. As a final note, is watch out for this little ad which says it just might be your last chance to drive. So this company has looked at the advances in technology and has looked at autonomous cars and autonomous driverless cars. And it's made a picture, said, well, this is not particularly autonomous, but it's a really beautiful car to drive. Everybody who drives it loves it. And by the way, it might be your last chance, because soon all the cars will be autonomous. So they've kind of turned the technology on its head. I thought it was very innovative and very clever. So we'll stick that in there slightly as a lighthearted finishing point. So thanks to Francesca Tabor.
That's clever.
What's that?
That's clever. That's clever.
Isn't it brilliant? Yeah, it is. Okay, we're done. Sorry, time flies when you're having fun. And we're taking a break next week, so we will be back on the 12th of September. I feel like that's a Shakespearean, the 12th of September, or some kind of, it rings a distant bell, but maybe I got it wrong there. We'll see you on Friday, the 12th of September. We're going to play out with Jordan, by this young lady, Leah, that I discovered in our park, rehearsing on the old Victorian bandstand. And this is her beautiful voice. But before that, I just want to say thank you, Wayne and Reggie. As always, it's lovely chatting with you guys.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and we shall continue on the 12th of September. And to play us out now, let's have this lovely piece called Jordan by a young lady called Leah. So, good weekend, folks.
Lecę jak Lola w kosmicznym meczu. Flow Leosia, melodia jak Kate Bush. Lecę jak w kosmicznym meczu Michael. Widzę cię, wciągnąłeś mnie w bajkę. To moje miasto, to moje boisko. Nie trzeba mi wiele, ale mam wszystko. Idę tu nocą, światło migoczą jak gwiazdy. Patrzy się na mnie chyba każdy. Każdy się gapi lub spodoba na mnie luka. To moje życie, a nie jakaś bania luka. Metronom w głowie jedno tempo sobie stuka. Nagle wryta zdaje i na ciebie lukam. Ja i ty, to tak jakby mały tune skład. Ty masz tę charyzmę, a ja urok mam. Zatańczymy razem, nie stój dłużej sam. To życie jak z bajki Lola, Bunny, Bunny Bugs. Lecę jak Lola w kosmicznym meczu. Flow Leosia, melodia jak Kate Bush. Lecę jak w kosmicznym meczu Michael. Widzę cię, wciągnąłeś mnie w bajkę. Jak Jordan, jak Michael. Bajkę, wciągnąłeś mnie. Moje ulubione słowo to dolarsowo. Tak się czuję, bawię się nim jak bawię się modą. Lubię jak jest słodko, ale bryzę słoną chłonąć. Lubię tak, że są wakacje, więc siedzę nad wodą. Choć na co dzień Londyn, to w Polsce mam wszystko. Tutaj jest mój dom, tutaj jest moje boisko. Muzyka to most i jak w San Francisco. Jadę nim do ciebie, zróbmy widowisko. Lecę jak Jordan, już nie jak jakiś motyl. Kot w mojej głowie to już chyba dzikie koty. Taktyka się wymyka, no bo sen mój to ty. Chcę cię rozszyfrować, myślę tylko o tym. Lecę jak Jordan, już nie jak jakiś motyl.